everyone, my name is Danielle and welcome to another episode of Board Game Bakes. This week we're going to focus on Mountains Out of Molehills, which is a fun game that's produced by the Op and actually just came out last week. When I saw this game though, I instantly thought that would be really hard but really fun to turn into a cake. And we're going to do it. In the game you have the game box is the base, and then you put a board on top of that, and then you have pillars and a board on top of that. And we're going to make it all. We're going to make an entirely edible version of it. So we've got a lot of work to do. Let's get started. Let's get into this epic cake. Start by preparing your cake. You can make your favorite from scratch chocolate cake recipe, or I tweaked a box cake mix, or actually two. Instead of adding water in the recipe, you add milk, which makes the cake more dense and easier to carve. The board game box we're replicating is about 10 by 10 inches, and that's the size we want for the cake. This cool cake pan here lets you pick the size of your cake. I'll put the link down below, because it's one of my favorites. 2 cake mixes were used with the goal of cutting the cake into 3 layers later. Bake at 350 degrees until the center is set and a toothpick comes out with only a few crumbs. This was about 50 degrees in my oven. Let the cake cool completely before decorating. After trying that tasty icing from the Fort Macaroni cake, I felt inspired to try a Swiss meringue buttercream again. This one gave me more problems because I added cocoa powder, where it'd probably go better if you use melted and cooled chocolate. To begin, you heat 8 egg whites, preferably not from a carton, with 454 grams of sugar in the mixing bowl that you're going to put into your mixer later. You want it to be over simmering water to cook it, but not touching. Cook and stir the mixture until it reaches 110 degrees Fahrenheit. I experimented and let it go a little longer because some different recipes have different temperatures, but I'm not sure whether that contributed to my difficulty. Take your mixture off and whip it on high speed until stiff peaks form. To give your meringue the best chance of getting to those stiff peaks, try cleaning your mixing bowl and the whisk with vinegar to get rid of any grease that could be residually on your bowl. Once you have stiff peaks, cool your bowl down by putting some ice around it, or you could just put the whole thing in the fridge. The goal is to have it so when you touch the outside, it's no longer warm to the touch. Add your 6 sticks of unsalted butter. Once that's all added, you want to add ½ teaspoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, and 113 grams of your chocolate of choice. I did cocoa powder, but it may work better if this 113 grams was of actual chocolate. I recommend going with the chocolate route. And also, I think I'd recommend, in hindsight, adding it as soon as you're done adding the butter. I think I let it mix too much and then I added it in. So you can learn from my mistakes. Let it mix up until it's smooth. And if I'm being honest, mine seemed to look like it had curdles and was soupy, which pointed to 2 different problems. I'm special. I wound up putting it back in the fridge for a bit, and I was able to get a better consistency after I mixed that again. Mountains Out of Molehills is unique because it has 2 layers of decorated boards. Let's start with those. This is the same recipe from my Everdell creation, since it's nice and strong. I'll put the link to that video below. Once you have your dough, form it into 2 discs and put them in the fridge to cool for at least 2 hours. Roll out your dough to about 1/4 inch thickness, and you want to cut out and trace and then cut out 2 large square cookies and put those on one tray. And then you need to cut out 8 thin pieces that will go onto another tray. If you put them both on the same tray, then those rectangles are gonna burn. With these structures, you need them to cool and harden on the cookie sheet, so unfortunately you could only bake at one time what you have room for on the cookie sheets available. So lucky for me, I have 2 really big cookie sheets. You want to bake them at 350 degrees. The large ones were in about 14 minutes, and the narrow ones about 9. It's important to have the center set, even if this means that the outsides get a little bit more well done. You don't want your gingerbread to cave in. That'd be very sad. To decorate the boards, use royal icing for some pretty art that'll get nice and dry. You need to split the decorating so that the main layer has time to dry before you add the finishing touches. Start by outlining the top board with white thick royal icing. Create 2 curvy paths that correlate with the board and the grass. Once it's dried, fill in the paths with a light brown and the rest of the board with a moss green thinned royal icing. Let it sit 2 hours or dry overnight so that the details you add next won't get absorbed into the board. Next, get out a ruler to put the player blocks on the board. There's 4 squares that each have 9 blocks, so that's the easiest way I found to divide it up. These ones may be slightly rectangular, but shh, don't tell anyone. Use edible markers to add stems and leaves for the plants. Finally, whip out your royal icing to add the red and yellow flowers and the coordinates, the numbers and letters, all around your board. Now your top is ready to go. Time for our underground layer, which is where your mole moves around during the game. Outline your square with thick brown royal icing, and make a smaller square about a ½ inch from the edge of the board. Fill in the center with thin brown royal icing, and the outer rim with a dark brown royal icing. Once your board has sufficiently dried, use edible brown marker to add your coordinates and the rocks that go around the edges. You can use shading different to add some depth to your rocks. You also can use a blue edible marker to add the other gem-like structures that don't really pop as much. Time to give it a little pizzazz. There are fun glowing gems that brighten up this layer. Dot 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 glow. Ooh, I don't think the actual moles care about the gems at all, but I really like them. Hi! While you're here, make sure you subscribe for new videos every Tuesday at 12 p.m. EST. Thanks! To prepare the cake, cut into 3 layers. Use some of the icing to stick the bottom layer of the cake to the base, which is cardboard for me. Lather on a layer of your frosting, another cake, another layer of frosting, and finally end with your cake on top. Spread a thin layer of frosting over the whole cake and let it set in the fridge. Thankfully, the frosting seemed to settle down once it got into the fridge. Once that icing has firmed up a bit, use the rest of your icing to apply another coat of chocolatey goodness. Now onto the nail biting bits. These cakes are always organized chaos. The box for the bottom board is also decorated with underground objects. Use fondant to create the moleholes, time capsule, box, and dinosaur bones even. You're just looking to get the shapes. If you need to stack them on top of each other, put a dab of water to help them stick together. Once you give this a little bit of time to dry, use edible markers to add the details and bring these shapes to life. As your last bit of prep, roll out a quarter of a batch of fondant about to a 3½ inch wide strip, and you want this to be approximately 4 inches long. Roll it up so that you can put a nice color in your cake. Okay, we have our upper and lower boards. We need to work on the structure. In previous bakes, I've used royal icing as a glue to keep my gingerbread together, but I don't trust it for this one. Let's get some serious epoxy going. Heat up a ½ cup of water in a pot. While it's warming up, add 1 cup of sugar. Mix it to combine and wait, and feel like you're getting closer, but nope. Wait some more. When it finally thickens and gets slightly yellow, you're ready to glue. I try to keep it warm by putting in a pot of warmed water, and I'm not sure how effective it actually was because it still seemed to cool very quickly. So, more quickly. Put the glue on the edge of one of the long gingerbread pieces and attach another one to form a right angle. Prop it up against your cookie sheet so that it can fully harden. Once all 4 are done, attach half a pretzel rod so that the top of the pretzel rod is about a ¼ inch from the top of your gingerbread corner. This is where the player board is going to rest, so you want it to be about the same height on each one. Now, these are pretty sturdy, much stronger than royal icing. They should be able to hold up our board just fine. Now it's time to see it all come together. Start with your cake. Put it wherever you want it to wind up because you don't want to risk transferring it once it's complete. Put the underground board on top of your cake, push it down. Next, attach your pillars. You also want to push those firmly into the board so you know they're going to stay attached. Take the prepared fondant that you rolled up and wrap around your cake, kind of like you're wrapping some gauze. You want to make sure this also goes around your pillars. Give it a gentle push into the cake to help it stay put. Now it's time to add all those cute details you made out of fondant. Use a little water to attach them on the cake. After that, roll out some gray fondant and make the pipes that go around. You don't really want to do those in advance because you don't want them to be too hard, otherwise you can't bend them. Moment of truth. Put the top of the board on the cake. It worked! The finishing touch is to use some warhead cubes or another cuboid candy on top to act as the little molehills that get pushed up. Woohoo! It's about the same height and dimensions as a real board, and it was so much fun to make this and see it come together. Yay! Thanks for watching another episode of Board Game Bakes. I hope you enjoyed seeing all the different components come together to make this pretty awesome cake. I'm pretty proud of this one. It took a lot of work, but it's so fun seeing it come together. In the game you have 6 rounds. At each round you draft cards and then you program your mole's movements. And whenever your mole's able to go forward, it pushes up some dirt up top. And your piles grow. You form your little mountains out of your movements. But if they get too big, then they could topple over and fall into other ones, which could fall into other ones, and suddenly you could be like me, and your corner that was worth 12 points is suddenly worth 3. Sad, but it was a lot of fun, and I would definitely play it again. Thank you to the Op Games for sending me this game to review and bake. I hope you watch some other videos and see some of my other creations, and as always, let me know in the comments if there's any other games you'd like to see featured on my show. Keep playing games and keep them sweet. Bye!